It's time.
This is the CSL This Week. Welcome, everybody. I'm Alex Bastiavansky, bringing you all the action from the Canadian Soccer League. On the show today, playoffs are here. We're going to have an in-depth look at all 4 playoff quarterfinal matchups that are going to be played this upcoming weekend. That's coming up later in the show, but first, let's get to the highlights. And, for Serbia and London, it all came down to Saturday night at Lamport Stadium. Both teams were tied with 20 points. Who would secure the 8th and final playoff spot? It was winner take all, but only one squad brought their A game on this night. The highlights now brought to you by Leica Sports, official sponsor of the Canadian Soccer League. This was the biggie. London or Serbia? Who would live to see another day and advance to the CSL playoffs? It was all Serbs. 37th minute, big man Mirko Medic manages to slide behind the city defenders and pick his spot past Vladimir Markotic. And how pumped were the White Eagles for this tilt? You tell me. 1-0 Serbs through 37 minutes. It goes from bad to worse for London. 43rd minute, 2013 league MVP Guillaume Soro is given a red card for serious foul play, which happens behind the play, so the camera missed it. Regardless, Soro is gone, and City go down to 10 men, further killing their chances. Not looking good for London as we head into the second half of play, and then it's the Serbs with a golden chance. But Milo Sabatovic thinks it's his teammate. He's laying it off to... Nope. That was a London City player. Ouch. His reaction pretty much says it all. No matter. 52nd minute, Timotej Zakljek pounces on the London defensive miscue, and boom, hammers it past Markotic. 2-0 White Eagles, and they were just getting warmed up. That looked like it sapped London's desire. 84th minute, watches the City defender just casually let Saja Reed collect the pass, waltz right in, totally gives up on the play. Brutal. 3-0 Serbia. Then 4 minutes later, it's Reed to Mirko Medic. This one was never in doubt. Serbia, full marks on this night. They definitely brought it. Both team add another goal. 5-1 is your final. Unfortunate for London. It could have been a different result if they hadn't gone down to 10 men. Serbia clinched the last playoff berth and will face Kingston in the quarterfinals. Well, Brampton and Kingston were 2 teams that had already secured a playoff berth heading into their encounter last Sunday. And the game was a chance to fine-tune their squads in the last game before the postseason. But the main goal was to simply avoid injury to any of their star players before the second season begins. Kingston sat Catalan Lishiu and Edgar Solo for this tilt, but still had plenty of offense. Early on, Brampton keeper Christian Montero bobbles the corner kick, but his defense is there to bail him out of trouble. Another corner moments later, the ball comes to Akil DeFreitas. There's some serious heat on this blast, but Montero gets down to make the nice stop. Brampton comes back at them. Jean Chimpaka down the wing, hammers it, but Erwan Ofuya comes up big to keep it scoreless. Then it's DeFreitas going to work again, this time laying it off for Nathan Klemenic. Montero rock solid though. So on to the second half of play we go. Brampton pressing Nordo Gooden with some daylight here, but again Ofuya there to deny the chance. No scoring till the 87th minute when Usama Salmani floats one in from about 40 yards out. Montero loses it in the crosswinds apparently. Tough way to lose the shutout and potentially the game. Dying seconds now, Chimpaka takes the long feed from Leandro Aguiar, outraces the D but can't beat Ofuya, and that was all she wrote. 1-0 Kingston is your final. Both teams now head into the playoffs, and we'll tell you their opponents in just a few moments. Other game scores. York Region, the dream becomes reality. Undefeated season. Congratulations to them as they down Croatia by a 3-2 count. Also, Niagara, you know what? Something to take into next season. Only their 3rd win of the season as they drop North York by a 1-0 count. So here are your final regular season standings. York Region, as mentioned, undefeated. Congratulations, 44 points. There was your playoff line. London City on the outside looking in, and Niagara United on the bottom. So remember, for all the up-to-date playoff information, including the schedule, head to CanadianSoccerLeague.ca. We got to take a quick break, but stick around. The CSL this week. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back, and it's time. The postseason is finally here. After slugging it out for over 4 months, only 8 teams remain in the chase for the coveted playoff title. We're going to take an in-depth look now at each quarterfinal matchup, and we start at the top with the regular season champions York Region taking on 8th-seeded Brampton City United. Sunday, October 12th, 6 p.m., St. Joan of Arc Field in Vaughan will be the site of the first quarterfinal. One might be tempted to think this will be a cakewalk for York, the number 1 seed taking on 8th-seeded Brampton. A head-to-head, it's been a different story though. Brampton tied York both times they played this season, holding the powerful Shooters' offense in check. A York Region will be pumped, however. They won't be taking anything for granted after being knocked out in the first round in 2013. And there's no question, they're the heavy favorites after completing the first undefeated season in the CSL since 2003.
Having a season go undefeated is actually a great feeling because it's from the goalie to the defense to the forwards to the coaching staff. I can't remember when's the last time it was. I think it was maybe 10, 12 years ago. And other than a good feeling, it's important that you don't get complacent. We talk about it every week. We say, look, the season's over. In North America, you can be 14-0, 18-0, but next day it's a brand new season. It sounds corny, but exactly what it is. So we're very happy we went undefeated, and now it's a brand new ball game.
The upcoming playoff game against the Shooters proves to be a real battle. I mean, both games this year were really, really intense. I would say 2 of the most intense games we had all year. They're a very strong, mature team. We're a very young, more inexperienced team. I think their back line is their strength, and we're just anxious to see how our younger players could stack up against it. They're welcoming the challenge. They're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really, really intense game. York has had an amazing season. They were consistent. They were probably the most consistent team in the league, hence their record. But the playoffs are the playoffs. Anything can happen. Our boys are looking forward to the challenge. So once you get into the playoffs, the 18 regular season games really don't matter. I mean, we've seen that year in, year out. We saw that a few years back with SC Toronto that had just a terrific team and, major upset first round of the playoffs, and then those teams go on to do well deep into the playoffs. So we're anxious to play the role of spoiler.
Brampton has their hands full against the undefeated York Region Shooters team that has gone undefeated since 2003, the first team in CSL since then. So it's been 11 years and a great season for them. Great job from top to bottom in scoring goals, defending goals. So Brampton, a young team, if they can hold the defense line tight, make sure that they be patient, look for the counter attack, they have a chance. Again, once you get into the playoffs, anything could happen. But the experience of York Region Shooters will be tough to beat, as you got guys there that have been there, know what it takes to win a championship and has experience in the playoffs. So expect a good match at the home of York Region Shooters. It'll be a tough game for Brampton, but again, anything can happen in that game.
But quarterfinal number 2 features 2nd-seeded Toronto, Croatia taking on the 2013 playoff champs, SC Waterloo. It's a tantalizing rematch of last year's semifinal game that had to be decided by penalty kicks. The 2nd-seeded Croats host the reigning champs October 11th from Hershey Field in Mississauga. Now, head-to-head, it's been a wash this season. The teams tied 2-2 on June 7th and 1-1 August 10th. Croatia will be hungry for revenge. They've won 2 of the last 3 CSL titles, but were knocked out in the semis last season by Waterloo, who then went on to win the playoff title. Waterloo was inconsistent all season this year, but with veteran stars such as Drazen Vukovic and Ranko Goljinin, they know exactly when to turn it on.
So our matchup against Toronto, Croatia, we played them twice this season. We tied them away, and they beat us at home. And they're heavy favorites the last few seasons. Last year we played them in the semifinals and won on penalty shots. They're a very strong team, And going into this game, we still look at them as the favorites. And I think that our team can compete with any team in the playoffs. We've been giving good performances in the playoffs like last year. So I think that the matchup will be the ball's in their court, and it's just up to us to perform like we can. We have a few injuries, a couple of players we're expecting hopefully to recover by the weekend. Adis Hasacic and Dražen Lukovic are both recovering from injuries for this weekend. Hasacic got out last weekend, so he should be ready to go this weekend. Lukovic also nursing a slight injury, but we're hoping to have him ready for this weekend in top shape. And we're working hard in the practice this week, so hopefully he'll be ready to go at 100% this Saturday.
Croatia started slow this season, but were buoyed by mid-season additions from back home. Ante Zivkovic and Pero Manalo ignited the Croatian offense, and the club entered the playoffs as one of the league's hottest teams.
It'll be a very tough game. Every first playoff game is most important, very important, and the toughest game. How we know is Waterloo is last year's champions, and they didn't lose many players. They are same team, maybe this year only maybe more experienced. So it will be a very, very tough game for us. Last year we have in semi-final game, actually quarter-final game with them. They beat us on penalty shots. So last year we were one of two best teams in the league. And Toronto Croatia is always in the last several years on top 2 or 3 teams on CSL. So with our new younger team, we are expecting us to win this game. But in playoff, we don't know what can happen like every year. So like I said again, I have lots of respect to Waterloo team as a champion of last year.
Like Waterloo versus Toronto Croatia. Waterloo, last year's champions, struggled throughout the year this year, finishing in 7th, but that's by far their true ability. Hence them with so much experience, have someone like Ranko and could change a game in a second with his strength and power and goal scoring ability. So Toronto Croatia has to be on the defensive mode when watching him. But again, at the end of the day, Toronto Croatia, in the past 3 years, won 2 championships. So it will be a game that can go either way. Anticipation has obviously possibly Toronto Croatia winning the game, but don't expect Waterloo to lay down. This thing could go again like it went last year, right down to the wire. Penalty shots is even potentially in the works, but it should be the game of the weekend for sure.
We got to take a quick break, but stick around. The CSL this week. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. We continue with our CSL playoff preview now with quarterfinal number 3. Last season's regular season champs, Kingston FC, hosting the Cardiac Kids, otherwise known as the Serbian White Eagles, who made it into the playoffs by the skin of their teeth in their last regular season game. Last year's regular season champions, third-seeded Kingston, play host to the Serbs on October 11th from Queens Westfield. Now, head-to-head this year, it was a saw-off, as Serbia took the first game 1-0 on July 19th, while Kingston were dominant in the rematch on September 13th, winning 3-1. They got to the playoffs the hard way, having to defeat London City on the last night of the regular season. Kingston know they're in tough against the talented and experienced Serbs.
Game coming up against Serbian White Eagles is going to be a difficult challenge for Kingston FC. There's no doubt about that. They're a strong team. They're skillful. They've got a lot of speed. They brought in some new players towards the deadline, I think, that strengthen them, and they're going to be a formidable challenge for us. We played them twice during the season. We beat them most recently in Lamport Stadium 3-1. They beat us at our home field 1-0. So, on a combined basis, this 3-2 for us in over 2 games. So not a lot of goals scored, good defense, 2 skillful teams. It's going to be a tough challenge for us, no question. We're feeling pretty good about where we sit, though. Right now, we've taken 10 out of the possible 12 points over our last 4 games. So we put together a good run from the middle of September onward, and we feel we're playing pretty well. We think we peaked at the right time, but I think Serbian White challenge. Serbia's got some talent for sure. They've got Stanovic, who's a very skillful and fast, goal scorer and offensive threat without question. We got to be very careful with him. Mirko Medic is a real force back on defense, very experienced and a tough guy to beat. So, they're good at both ends of the field, and they can play different styles of play. We've never had easy games against those guys, and I don't expect we'll have an easy one this time.
Serbia versus Kingston will be a great match as well this coming week. You're going to see Serbia making the travel to Kingston, playing at home. Kingston always a tough team to play against in their own backyard, but Serbia, what can you else you say? The last day of the season, found a way to get it done. Winning 5-1, scoring the goals, finishing. Obviously, they have the ability when it comes to crunch time to make things happen. So it will be a tough game for Kingston in their own backyard. This game could go either way. So we anticipate it being a big game on both ends. I think it'll be a little more tighter. This thing could go right to the 90th minute and team possibly pulling it on the last second or even going to overtime. But Kingston at home, fantastic team, very organized, very fit against a little bit older, experienced Serbian team. So at the end of the day, this thing will go right down to the wire, and you'll see a great game this coming weekend.
Well, quarterfinal number 4 is a fascinating matchup of two Cinderella teams. Third-seeded North York, who hadn't made the playoffs since 2008, taking on second-year Burlington SC, playing their first postseason game in franchise history. Esther Shiner Stadium in North York is the place to be Sunday, October 12th, kickoff at 3:30. Now, looking at the teams head-to-head this season, it was no contest. The Astros won both encounters, outscoring Burlington by a 7-0 count. However, Burlington were missing key players during the contest due to injury and suspension, and with stars such as Nicholas Lindsay back for the big game, the Astros know it will be a much different team they're facing.
Well, they're a pretty fast-paced team, and obviously any player that possesses that kind of speed needs to be taken into account. But the whole team, whole Burlington team, I mean, they showed throughout the season they are a worthy opponent, and a very good balanced team. Like I said before, the two results in the season don't mean anything at this point. I'm sure they had some players off at the time, and now we're not at full strength, so it's a one game off, and whoever has the most concentration on the game will win the game. This is a new game altogether for us. We're approaching this game with the same caution that we would approach any other game. Preparation has to be 100%, concentration has to be 100%, and the commitment has to be 100%. So the players are very excited about being in the playoffs. Last year we missed it by a single point. It was very discouraging, and it was very it was very bad for us because we were coming off a winning run. And this season we set up to make sure that we will be in the playoff position, early or as early as possible in the season. We didn't want to leave it till the last game like last year.
Burlington will have to contain a dynamic Astros offense that includes two players in the top 5 of league scoring, Joey Mello and Jose De Souza, in addition to numerous other capable scorers.
The last 2 games we ended up losing for them. We lost at home and we lost away. Those games, I think we're kind of looking forward to them right now because I think that we didn't play our best soccer at the time. We were missing some players as well as based on the schedule and some of the shuffling that we had to play a few games in a very short period of time. So, I'm not saying that we're better than them, but I think that definitely we did not give them the run that we can actually do. So we'll see. We're looking forward to it. The guys are excited that they're going to play them again. And we need to watch for Melo because last game we were home. They played and we lost to them. He was starting all the action. Every single goal he was started. Every single action for the goal was started by him. So we're going to need to watch that. We're going to need to tighten it around it. I think that very first game after when we ended up losing here at home, I think we kind of they were thinking that it's going to be definitely an easier job. They didn't realize that, it took us a while to realize really how good they are individually as well as a team. So I think that we have a better idea who they are and what we need to look for. And we'll make adjustments that we didn't make adjustments for the first two games.
The final game here with North York Ashes versus Burlington is the story of two teams that are on the outside and now have a chance to be a Cinderella story in the CSL for this coming year. North York Astros, hosting the championship this year, would love to play the game in their own backyard in the finals. Have a lot of work ahead of them, but have the ability to have someone like Joey Mello behind, leading their team behind them and making sure that they're competitive, they're structured, they're organized. It's been a very good year for them, keeping it throughout the season up to the top, from third place, second place, working that always in potential playoff scenario throughout the year, which was very important for them after years that they haven't been in the playoffs. So happy for them that they have an opportunity to be there again against that team, Burlington SC, that first time for them being in the playoffs. This will be a very interesting game. Nicholas Lindsay, former TFC player, coming in and being a leader on their team, having him step up and taking that role as a leader to hopefully give them that chance. So the winner of this game will possibly, even though it's ranked 4th and 15th, could be the potential Cinderella story, as both of them are first time experience for a while in the CSL playoffs.
We got to take a quick break, but stick around. The CSL this week. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. Before we go, let's take a look at the Olympic trophies misplays of the week, and it's the Serbian White Eagles, 3 of them in a row. First, Milos Ampanovic on the breakaway, laying it off for the London City defender, and Milos's reaction pretty much says it all. Seconds later, Daniel Kamali breaking in, keeper is beat. He lays it just wide of the post, though. The Serbian fans in the stands were losing their mind over this. And then just seconds after that, Mirko Medic out front, daylight, rings it off the post, and he's frustrated. We can safely chuckle about it, though, because Serbia did win the game and advance. Our Olympic trophies misplays of the week. And that's all the time we've got for this week. Just remember, though, that for all the latest up-to-date playoff information, go to CanadianSoccerLeague.ca, and you can also check out the league on Twitter at CSL_soccer. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next week.